or something. So if he leaves PSG or they sack him before then Levy can get rid of Nuno and bring
Yeah.
Poch back. But does he want to do that? Does he want to bring Poch back?
I mean, he's no mug. Levy's the sort of person who puts darts in a dartboard, isn't he, Jamie?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
I only throw darts in the dartboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't place them in there. But would you want Poch back?
I would.
I think from the perspective that he's a very good coach, yes, but not from the perspective that I think we'd always be comparing him to the past, and I could see it all going really badly wrong.
But the last year, 18 months was poor, wasn't it?
It was poor.
Since that Burnley game, wasn't it? When Poch kicked off against was it Mike Dean?
It was, yeah.
And it just seemed to sort of go tits up from there.
It went really downhill from there. I think it was happening.
But it's all going downhill. Yeah, exactly. But that's carried forward because we didn't have the turnover after that game. It's like Alderweireld said, after that final and even beforehand, but after that final, a lot had to change and it just didn't. So I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm a bit of a romantic when it comes to this. I'd love to see him back. I think he's had, if you give it another year, he's probably had the appropriate amount of break. I would like to see him come back with his staff for a few more years. I think he feels like he's got unfinished business to do at the club because he really wanted to win stuff with us. I'd welcome him back with open arms, but I know not everybody would, and I can see the logic behind that. But I don't think that the cliche of never go back. I don't think that's always the case because there's been plenty of managers that have gone back and done really well. So I would like to see him come back because for me he's a typical Spurs manager, and also he's a sort of guy that which we've lacked since, who makes the sum of the parts better. He
does. I also like Jesus Perez as well. I think he's I think he's a brilliant coach. I think he did. Yeah. I think he was, core to that success that we had.
I think so. Yeah.
But
do a little temperature check on Nuno. What we thinking now? Then I mean, I know it's only one game difference, but are you prepared to say give him more time? Because I know a lot of people were.
Well, for me, I think if he carries on that style of play that we played against Villa, I'm happy. But if we keep resorting to this ridiculous long ball, as Jamie was saying, that big gap in midfield, it's really hard to enjoy it. And if you lose games, it's ridiculously bad, isn't it? So, got Sarah joining us.
Oh, good. I personally, I think we need to. I'd say a few bad results, and he's obviously in trouble again. But I think it'd be crazy just not to see it out to the end of the year and just see where we are.
Yeah.
And then go again, because otherwise, if you do sack him anywhere between now and the end,
well, who do you get in?
Christmas? Yeah, exactly. Where do we go? We start again, another project. Players are like, oh God, here we go again. Another person who who's got to try and get his ideas across to us. So I know it's difficult because people do react, and and you can understand why, because we all want our team to do really well, but ultimately you're taking one step forward in terms of sacking him, but then few steps back because you've got a whole new philosophy to come through again.
But exactly. The thing, so from a player's perspective, we've got, obviously we've got Nuno in for this season, next season, if he lasts that long. But, from a player's perspective, knowing that we've got our 6th or 7th choice manager in, I mean, what are they? I mean, we all work for, people that we've got managers, and everyone's got views on their managers, and other people managing in companies and this and that, and generally managers are frowned upon. It always looks as if they're doing absolutely fuck all, generally, because they are. But it can't have been a good thing, even from Kane's perspective, to go, oh, Nuno's the manager. But he was 6th or 7th fucking choice. That must scream to the players that either A, we haven't got a fucking clue what we're doing, or B, Levy, through his past dealings, has tarnished the reputation of the club, and nobody wants to come in and do the job. Then you've got the likes of Mourinho going around that's probably chatting to every single manager under the sun that gets approached about, going to Spurs, and he's probably got his own spin or his own take on it.
Yeah.
So,
Jamie, you think about this, right? I mean, I don't, it's horrible to use them as an example, but it doesn't matter who the manager is really at Chelsea. All those players will still put in a shift for whichever manager comes in. Look at the I forgot his name now. The ex-player that got them to the Champions League final to win it.
Oh, Di Matteo.
Di Matteo, yeah, exactly. They have a history of those players. They're used to high turnover of managers, and they have enough about them that they will just keep going. And I think that's one aspect of our players that we need to get. And hopefully maybe they're starting to realise, okay, maybe he won't be here next year. But does that mean we just coast by until then? No, because we need top European football at this stadium, because they want to stay there and they want to be part of whatever happens next. So whoever that manager is, we may well be entering a phase where we have a manager that's only there for a couple of seasons. Most seasons, those players have got to be resolute and resilient enough to turn in a performance week in, week out, no matter who the manager is.
And maybe Paratici is meant to be the person that keeps that stability as the managers change.
Yeah, but you mentioned about Chelsea there, but those players are being rewarded a hell of a lot more
They are.
than what our players are on weekly wages, and no doubt they've got numerous bonus structures in their contracts.
Is it all about money though? I mean, I know for some people it is, but professional pride surely comes into it.
Well, I think what happens is because they pay higher wages, they get the better players.
Yeah,
as simple as that. And they've got the choice of the players that they need. But as we saw with Tuchel, when he came in, he made a dramatic change to what Lampard was doing there. So having a good manager there is important. Even though they have a turnover of managers, they always have decent managers pretty much for the most part. And,
I think that's what we do need now, though, isn't it? I mean, whoever that is, whether it is Pochettino or not, I don't know. But this is a transitional phase for the manager as well, because he won't be here long term. We do need an elite level manager, but there aren't many around.
But that's the thing, when Spurs go in for Nagelsmann, they needed to get Nagelsmann and not let Bayern Munich get him. I know that's really hard to do because he's German, he wants to be at Bayern. But that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Well, that's it. But allegedly they did have a deal that was very close, and he was set to join us until they entered the fray. Yeah. But you have to, if at all possible, make him an offer he can't refuse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've got to tell him that he's going to be totally backed and what have you. And yeah, I think that's the problem. And I'm hoping that Paratici is going to change all that, because I don't think Levy knows how to run a football club. That's the problem. He knows how to build a stadium. He's brilliant at that stuff. But when it comes to getting a manager to come in and at the very top level, you've got to say all the right things and put everything in place that he's going to be, or that person is going to be happy about. And,
so you've made your banners then, have you? Then, Andy, you've got your ENIC out banners.
Yeah, it just so happens that there isn't a game until the end of the month, so I'm gonna have to wait a bit, aren't I? Yeah.
You get your ENIC out tattoo as well. Is that next weekend?
Yeah. Big
he's gonna get it done on his head so everyone can see it. Just even on Zoom calls,
on his penis.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it in biro.
No one will ever see that, Lee.
Not unless I do my elephant impersonation, but we won't go into that anyway. Yeah.
So where are we finishing this year, boys?
Well, I'll be very surprised if we didn't win the league.
Of course, and the Champions League.
Yeah. I think top six is. I think it's a must.
Yeah.
But I still think we can get top four if we play like we did on Sunday. I think Sunday was that kind of performance that if you can keep that going, you can. And we're only 4 points off top and 2 points off a whole group of teams above us. And
I think top four depends on really who we buy in January. If we get one really key player in January, then I think it's possible.
Well, I see that Vlahovic at Fiorentina has said he's not going to sign a new contract.
Which means he's not signing for us then.
No, that's right, exactly. Yeah, it means that he will be signing for Fiorentina. He's just looking for more money.
But didn't he already announce that in the summer? There was talk about him coming to Spurs, and then
I thought he signed.
He turned around and said he was signing a new contract, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought he did. Yeah. So I don't know.
Put that to bed, but I think
maybe he hasn't signed it and has refused to sign it. But
I reckon Dom Fabio's been cooking.
You reckon?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
God, how old are you, Lee? 17.
Yeah.
But I think if we can get hold of that creative midfielder, the second half of the season could, turn out to be fairly decent.
I think
but
so.
Who is that player though? Who's that creative midfielder out there that is going to do it?
I haven't got a clue.
No, I haven't got a clue either. Don't know who that would be.
Again, it would have to be an elite level player, and there are not many that would be leaving in January. Are there really?
No,
you're going to have
it's almost
to get,
impossible.
It's almost impossible, and even if it's a player that would be going on a free, because there's a fair few players actually that are pretty tasty that were going to be available on a free next season. Do they go in January? I'm not sure.
I mean, it's a good time to put a bid in, isn't it? Because you can probably do pretty well out of that. But yeah, it's always very hard to buy in January. Yeah.
And then, are you Daniel Steve Hitchin or Daniel Levy?
That's right. Yeah, I'm a bit of both actually. A bit of both. Yeah.
I hate the January transfer window.
I hate it. I'm a bit of both. I get paid $6 million a year, but I do fuck all.
Nice.
So we had a question from Spiggy Tope at Spiggy Tope on Twitter. He said 53,000 sturdy souls ruled the troops to faux glory yesterday afternoon. Don't know what he meant by that. So what support does the panel think a capacity 62,000 can bring to the elite party? So in other words, with another 10,000 or 9,000 on top,
I don't think it makes much difference. I mean, to be honest, yesterday on Sunday, being at the game, I didn't really recognise. I know there was supposed to be like 7,000 or 8,000 less. I thought the atmosphere was really good. I thought
the atmosphere was really good.
Yeah, I thought there was singing. I didn't really notice that there wasn't full stadiums. I mean, a few people have been cynical and saying, yeah, the blue seats. That makes you not notice it so much, but it really felt like a full house. I mean, walking around trying to, I mean, I'm queuing up for drinks and things. It didn't. It
was jammed.
It was jammed.
Yeah, it was.
But this is the thing: you could have an extra 10,000 in there, but if those 10,000 aren't going to sing, because there's an awful lot of people in that stadium that sit there, and they sit in absolute silence. They don't want to sing. They don't want to get involved.
Well, I had in front of me, there were three women who were all quite, smartly dressed, and because where I sit on the east stand on the shelf, I'm right near the south stand. They weren't looking at the game down there. They were looking to their left and talking about the south stand almost entirely through the match. They weren't even watching the football. I don't even think they knew where they were. They probably thought they'd just walked out and been in some food hall, walked out into some kind of.
Well, I'm in the Northwest Lower, and in Northwest Lower, everyone was singing. I mean, it was a pretty vibrant, raucous atmosphere, and I could, I thought actually it was one of the better atmospheres we've had for a long time.
Yeah, it was really good. It was, it was fairly consistent, and I thought the Villa fans were really quiet. They only sang once they'd scored. And because we scored 4 minutes after, they didn't sing again, which was I thought the Villa fans were meant to be had this reputation for being noisy, but they certainly weren't. But they did put a flare out into the
they did. I saw some kick it off.
Well, do they think it's still the 1970s, do they?
Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, in terms of noise in a stadium, you only need. I mean, a lot of away teams do turn up at Spurs and they make a really decent noise, and there's only 2,500 in there. You only need 5,000 people in the stadium to get get things going to a decent level. So whilst, you know, the capacity, well, there was only